Alright, here we go. Part 2 of the Poulan Pro 42cc PP4218A. Do we know if it's going to run for sure? Heck no, we don't know. At least we got it to kick off in part 1. So now it's trying to get the fuel lines routed. And you know, some people like seeing the... I already got them installed through the plastic. But I'll show you which way they go. Try to anyway, if I can get this thing to work with me. Excuse me. So you got your primer, which has 2 prongs, a long prong and a short prong. And the short prong pulls, the long prong pushes. Now in this saw's case, the return line is all the way to the right, drops down, comes across, and it'll hook up into the long prong, so it'll be pushing fuel back to the tank. So with that said, the short prong will come up. Of course, this has to be snipped off, it's way too long. But our carburetor, your main fuel line sets this way, so your main fuel line's over here, and your primer is on this side. So this has to be shortened up to fit this prong, and then once we get the main fuel line where we want it, same way, trim it to where it's not rubbing on anything. So that's how it works. So in other words, I'll zoom this back out. If you look at, if you have a primer, like I got a spare one here, and you can see I have it on the short prong one. So you got your long prong, it's hooked on, you can kind of see it there, the short prong. If you put a piece of string on it, if you're not sure, just put a piece of line on it. You can pump it. You can stick your, I don't know if you can feel it with your finger. You kind of feel it with your finger. If you listen, you pump it a few times. I don't know if it's picking it up or not, but you can hear it drawing in. It's trying to draw air in. Of course, my thumb's blocking it off. Another way to do it is if you got a good clean piece of line that's never been used, you can hook it up, stick it on your tongue. And you feel it pulling, pulling pressure on your tongue, so you know you got it the right way. So we're getting to where it's almost a done deal here, and so I'll get this hooked up. So get the carb down there. I'm gonna try. Oh, come on, big fella. Got her all jammed up. There we go. Throttle assembly's in the way. There we go. So you can get kind of a guesstimate. I guess the easiest way to put it is how long you want your line. You slide your carb on, and you can kind of just stick it up there. Give yourself a rough idea of how long you want it to be. Just give yourself just a little extra, and just to be on the safe side. Trust me, been there, done that. So we're good there. So we'll clip it off. Easiest way I found to get them to go on is you get some, trust me, that are stubborn. Get a little 2-cycle oil mix, or in my case I have some chain bar, tube of chain bar grease, and just put just a little bit on there. Ain't got to be a ton, just enough to lube it up a little bit. It should slide right on for you. You should be able to get it with your fingers. It's just my fingers cramp real bad, so it's easier for me just to use a pair of hemostats. There we go. So that takes care of our return line, so it's now hooked up. So now my main fuel line happens to be black, no certain reason, it's just what I had. So you want to get it to where it comes across the bottom. That's probably going to be hard to see since the line's black, but same deal. Comes up out of the hole, goes over. You want to just make sure it's not kinked. If you kink it, you're cutting off your fuel supply, your saw's not going to run. Same way, do the best you can to get it to where you think you need it to be. Just give yourself just a hair extra, it ain't got to be a ton. Same way. So just a dab of grease down in there on it. just enough to help it slide. And there we go. All the way up. Make sure it's not hitting anything. Which looks good. Now this one, you want to be careful of a little bit, just because of your cable for your throttle is in the same vicinity of that line. So we want to make sure, well, first you want to make sure your choke lever is hooked up. So we'll get that in there real quick, just to, so I ain't got to fight with it later. There we go. So the cable, where's my spare one? You can see how it hooks up to the plastic. It's hooked up into the molding. You can get that to pop loose if you want to. I mean, you can get it to come off, but so it sets this away up against your carb. You can see where your cable's at. This plastic piece comes down in front of the carburetor, comes through and feeds into your handle. So you want to make sure when this is up here, it's not going to interfere with anything. This one actually looks pretty good. You can hold it up against it, move your throttle around. I don't have my cable hooked up yet. I just want to make sure first that it doesn't look like anything's going to hit. Choke lever is looking good. Everything looks good. So now, hook up the throttle cable. Fight with it to get it back down. Okay, that should go right down for you. Cable's over, the wires out of the way. Make sure I'm not forcing anything, and then there we go. That would be that. So you can kind of hold it there. Make sure your throttle's moving freely. The choke, everything's working. So once you got that done, you should have, well, if it's this model, you'll have the 2 nuts and 1 screw that goes in right here, which is, what I do with it, I believe it's this one. So we'll shoot it back in real quick. Pretty sure I got the right one. I hope I got the right one. No way. Ain't no way that's it. That's got to be too big. That's why you keep them separated. Alright, well, I'll find it. I want to hold you guys up. That might actually be it, but possibly. I don't know. Anyhow. Oh, good Lord. Here we go. I believe this is it. We'll try it. See what happens. There we go. We got it. Alright, those are, what do I do with it? I believe this is the right one. Nope. .5/16. So that takes care of that. So now let's tighten down, double check, make sure everything works. And you have your grounding cables. It's for your on and off switch. Mine I removed everything just so you guys get a decent point of view of it. And let's see. The easiest way I found to do these, you just take a flathead screwdriver that has that metal prong right there that has to come down to get this back in. Just stick it up here in the top. You can see what I'm doing. There we go. Just kind of push down on it some. You ain't got to go all crazy. You just need it to move out of the way enough to pop your switch back in place and your choke lever right underneath it. You should have a little flathead screw that holds that in place. like so. And here's your other prong for your yellow wire. Like so. And now we are complete. I did have a saw a while back. You want to make sure your wires through your coil, if you're to shut your, shut your motor on and off to the engine, make sure they're out of the way. So this guy, I bought one. Of course, it was I think that one was a Craftsman, but it's the same setup as this. So when your plastic cover goes on, these two, right here where the carb set's at, these two holes is where the screws go to hold that plastic cover on when it sets down. Well, on that one's case, they went straight through there to hold it in place. Now the issue they had when I got the saw was they thought the coil was bad, so they sold it to me for next to nothing. What it was is they had it apart, so they put fuel lines on it because they thought it was the problem. They took everything apart, put it back together. They had the wires for the coil were clear out, and they actually pinched them and had them smashed together. I don't know how they managed to do it, but it was there. I took it off, and sure enough, the wires were actually pinched and they were touching each other, grounding the saw out, so it would not start. Easy fix. But so you just want to make sure they're kind of tucked away. There is a little notch in there, and so that's it for that. So I can finish getting some other stuff hooked up, get the plastics back on, and we'll see what we got. Alright, everything's back on, minus the top. I'm going to leave it off. When we try to start it, it makes it easier for me to get this. Takes a 21 spline carb adjustment tool. It's easier for me to get it in there with the cover off than it is with it on. And I'll show you how I've done the muffler. The muffler, I did make it to where it breathe a little easier. So, get a flat head here. Here's one. So when your muffler sets on, this style anyway, you have, well, I don't see the other mesh screen, but you have your muffler sets on, you have two screws that go in, holds it on to the front of your saw. There's a mesh screen, this piece sets here, then you have a brass nut. Okay, and they aren't like crazy super restrictive, but they do breathe a little better with a little bit of hillbilly ingenuity. So you take the nut off, take the cover off, you'll have that mesh screen, you take it off. Take your muffler off. These two right here is actually these. That's all they are, is a couple tubes. You stick a flathead in there, that's how I usually get them out. You just wiggle them around and they'll come loose. Just like so, pops right out. Get that one real quick. Here's our other one. So you can see through there. You can see how it's just a straight shot now, because these tubes, when these tubes are in there, they go straight through to the back. You know, your bolt runs through this, go through straight through the back, forces everything up through the baffling and all that, out through the spark screen, and then out the saw. So with these tubes out of the way, it's free flow from the muffler. It's bypassing that baffle piece right there. It's coming straight out of those and then straight out right there. Some people say it helps, some don't. I've done a comparison on a couple Poulan Pros I had that we've done that too. There's a trick for the intake flow as well. I don't know how true it is. I've done it to a couple of them. You take your cover, it sets on there because they're pretty restrictive for the carburetor. So when they go down, it seals it pretty good around the plastic, and you can drill a couple holes in, 2, 3, 4 holes in there, and it lets air go straight to the air filter. But with that, we'll go out there, throw some gas in this thing, and see if she'll fire up. Here we go, moment of truth. Hope it'll take off because it's getting ready to storm like bad. So got fuel in it. I was out of bar oil, but I had some straight 30. Threw that in. It might be a little windy, but I'll do the best I can. We got a storm blowing in, so I'm gonna try to prime it up. Hopefully I got the lines hooked up correct. Yep. So they're working. We're on. Choke it. Alright, fingers crossed, man. Take the choke off. Good enough for me. So we just went from, that saw that I bought off that guy that had no compression. We bought two of them for $7.50. $7. We'll get it out. $7.50. So it was $15 for the two if they didn't know if they worked. So it was $7.50. And I had the parts to fix it, but you know, not everybody gets that lucky to run into that. Now, if this is something would I personally overhaul one of these old Poulans? No, I mean personally no. I just done it just to show it could be done. But I can show you a rebuild kit for this on the Mighty Jungle. I looked it up before I came out. It's $35.98. That's the the jug, the spark plug, the piston, the ring, the rod, or not the rod, I'm sorry, the pin, the wrist pin, the 2 clips. You got your 2 plastic sleeves. I mean, you can see everything in the picture there. It's a pretty basic kit, China's finest. So I mean, you can get that part of it for, you know, less than 40 bucks shipped to your house. If it was something that I could understand, I mean, if you're in a tight bind, because trust me, I went to Tractor Supply about a month ago, and they carry the Poulan Pro 18-inch 42cc was $200 and some, brand new. And I mean, you can get on Marketplace. Generally, I get on there and look around, and I can find one of these on there. If it runs, sometimes they even have a case. You can usually get them right around 60 bucks. And sometimes, on average, it's between 60 and 100. And a lot of times you can get on there and find them like this, and people will have them, and you get one of those deals where, you know, it ran good a couple years ago, but I can't get it to start. You go get it for 20 bucks, bring it home, and it all it needs is a set of fuel lines, or the carburetor needs cleaned, or you know, sometimes it's something petty, and you can fix it, and you got yourself a good saw. You just got to remember, these things, they're called home saws for a reason. I mean, they're, you know, for around the house, kind of like this crap I got over here from where I went to my dad's house and cut down a bunch of stuff for him, and we brought it home to dry out so my son could burn it in his burn pit that him and his friends have. So that'll be good to go next season. So I mean, it's just for little stuff like that. This ain't something that like you're gonna run out and go freaking cutting this down, you know what I mean? So that's what they're intended for, and they will last if you take care of them. That's generally what happens. The ones I come across, there's generally people that's, you know, I'll get them, take the plastics off, and they're just caked full of sawdust. The filter sits right here. You take the cover off, and the filter is just completely clogged with sawdust. You know, same way on this side, you get the oiling mechanism will be plugged up, all up around the clutch, and you take the plastic off, it's just caked full of stuff. It's just where they never take care of them. And but with that, I ain't gonna drag it out for you. We actually got lucky. It does runs really well, actually. I'm surprised. Honestly, I didn't even think it'd kick off in the first video down in the basement. I thought for sure we'd have issues, but I'm really surprised. They didn't make a good saw, you know, for around the house. Seems to be running okay. The idle's still a little high. It's taking its time on coming down on the idle, so I'll address that at some point. But that's it. I actually pulled it off, got a winner, and we honestly didn't use any parts from the Craftsman. I'm really surprised because that Craftsman is the same exact design as this. 42cc, plastics are almost identical. Same carburetor, same, you know, the jug, the muffler, you know, the bar, and all this stuff is all the same between the Poulan and the Craftsman. So we'd have had extra parts if we needed them, but it's doing great so far. This is one of those deals where you would take it, and how I would do it if I was something I was going to take out and use, I'd probably let it sit out here and run, get good and hot, and, you know, just and run it. And then sometimes you'll get them, you'll make an adjustment like that, and you shut it off, and then you go to use it, and once it warms up real good, you're going to have to readjust it. It's one of those things that happens. It doesn't happen to all of them, but I've had it happen to the trimmers, the chainsaws, you know, anything that's 2-cycle. I've had to do it plenty of times, but not often, but I've had it happen a few times. But anyhow, that's it. I ain't going to drag it out on you. Try not to, and just you have to give the gab. But this one is I'll give you the year. See if I can find it here. This one is that's an older one. It's 2014, so it's 10 years old. But well, yeah, so it is 10 years old now. This one, the plastic piece is off the other saw, so I honestly don't know how old it is without going down the basement and looking at it, or, you know, we changed a few things. But anyway, that's it. We got a winner. Thanks for watching. Hopefully this helps somebody out. If you got any questions, don't hesitate to ask. But one piece I did miss, and I will show you real quick so you don't make the same mistake I did, because I have to pop it back off, is that clip right there. If you can see it, somebody in their god-awful music, is your coil wire actually goes into that clip as well, so don't make the same mistake I did. Alright guys, thanks for watching. I'll catch you at the next one, which will be that Poulan 2150 or something like that. That was the other one that came with this one. All right, man. We'll see you at the next one. Thanks for watching.